This show is about Audi Sport, the customer racing side of Quattro GmbH. Opening a racing transporter, for many of us, has the same anticipatory excitement as opening a gift. Like a kid on Christmas morning or whatever you celebrate, there is nothing more emotional to a driver that craves speed than this. And look what we found. Visiting the home of Quattro GmbH was simply finding more motoring gifts. For here is the Audi Customer Center for owners to take delivery of their new Audi, for owner groups to meet and share their pride, for new buyers to immerse themselves in the wealth of customization and personalization options that define the Audi exclusive program. A mind-melting gift box of variables, of paint, materials, equipment, of choices to select, so that expressing oneself by creating your very own unique Audi is all there before you. Because customer first is part of the Audi experience, no matter which car, no matter where you drive your Audi, on the road or on racetrack. When Drive gave me the assignment to visit Quattro GmbH, it was more special than maybe they knew. Now I know Audi and I have great respect for their cars, but I was traveling to the Audi Quattro headquarters ready to absorb what I didn't know and what was really going on here, and ready to share with you. And it started with access to some very fine road cars. That RS4 Avant was my ride for the entire trip. Power, amazing turn-in and stick, and so fast, believe it or not, it took me a whole day before I realized there was a 7th gear in that double clutch transmission to go even faster. Maybe I kid. Seems like every automotive brand that wants to establish itself in the personal enthusiast side of driving and ownership has decided they need to establish their own customer-first boutique performance sub-brand. Well, Quattro's been there for 30 years, building the type of cars that inspire, progressively developing their performance personality, incessantly infusing performance passion into Audi, building, testing, creating the RS cars we have today, and that you will see, drive, and experience in the future. Even on their backdoor test track, the one behind the Quattro assembly plant, the sound and the driving characteristics of Quattro was pulling me into understanding these cars and their genesis. And that RS7? Simply amazing. Audi Sport Customer Racing, since 2011, has been part of Quattro GmbH. Their passion for racing, and Audi's dive for the breakpoint commitment to winning. We find ourselves in the home of Audi Sport Customer Racing and the birthplace of the R8 LMS Ultra GT race car, where the genes from the road car, structure, materials, powertrain, translate to the race car build and do so rather boldly.
Here we are at the production and testing site of Audi Sport Customer Racing in Heilbronn-Biberach, and I give you a short trip into what we are doing.
So, as I mentioned, I think you have the luxury of being the most loved and most hated in GT racing, loved by your customers and the car that you've produced, and we want to understand a little more about how that all comes together, and hated by the competition for the car you've produced and all the success. You've delivered, what, almost 100 cars? Over 100 now?
Over 100 cars, yeah.
Okay, and that doesn't include 2014 plans?
No.
And I've lost count of how many races you've won, over 119, 20 countries?
I have to look in the files. I'm not really sure how much we won, but it was a long period. We won all the races we really done. And yeah, we were very, very successful from the beginning with this car, and we're very, of course, very proud about that. But maybe the thing where we are most proud of it is not that we won so much races. It's because we get it together that we can build this car right on top of the standard car, of the road car from the R8.
The R8 LMS GT race car has done its winning thing across the world in a plethora of national GT racing series and at the most challenging and revered races at Daytona, the Nürburgring, Spa, plus the Abu Dhabi 12-hour, the Dubai 24-hour, the Bathurst 12, just to name a few of the over 119 wins and 18 championships and counting.
Everything you see here from the chassis is made in the assembly plant in Neckarsulm, and we have about 87% of the parts are similar or the same than in the road car. This might mean not that it's the same part at the same place. It's maybe the same part in a different place. There are minor changes. For example, we have here the mounting for the air checks. We have the same in the rear.
Is this additional stiffening a little bit here?
No, actually just to hold the bracket or the mounting for the air check. Okay. We have here a little cutout of this one. We have here a pocket, and this is all because we have wide wheels. We are lower, and so it's just to give the wheel more room to move.
And I always tell other people, the easiest job in this business is to create the car. But then the work really starts. So you have to supply your spare parts in a good way. Of course, the car has to be reliable. I think this is not the discussion. And then you have to support the customers and you have to help them with all the problems they have within a very short time and in a good way.
So we get the body here, ready to go to work. Now the shop really does its job. What happens next?
Yeah, and then we build up the car from the center to the outside. So first we put in the wiring loom, all the tubes, the brake hoses, and so on. And then the car grows from the middle to the outside.
So that begs the question, how do you train the customer crews to understand how to work on this car?
It depends on some of the customers. They just come here.
Okay.
And they join us building up their car. This is a service we just offer them. But if they have maybe the fourth or the fifth car, there's no need for that. But in the beginning, they take many times the chance to just build the car up together with us.
So we have an internet-based platform where right now at the moment we have roughly around 600 pages of technical information all around the car. So you find every torque, every part number, how to assemble, how to disassemble, what you have to take care of. And
Besides just sending you a check and you sending them a race car, what other parts comprise being a customer of the Audi Sport Customer Program?
First of all, we have on the races, we have an engineer who is providing the customers some help with setup, with technical problems, or whatever. So he's just there and answering all the questions.
Is he possibly available for their test day if they want?
Yes.
Okay, keep going, please.
Yeah, okay. And at the major races, we always have trucks there with all the parts in there. So the customer, they don't have to care for their own parts business. So if they have a crash or whatever, they just go to the Audi parts truck, they buy the parts they need, and then they go ahead.
As much as racing is exciting in a sport, it's a business, and one of your selling points, I'm assuming, is that 20,000-mile rebuild. So how far does that take you in a racing season?
Depends on. I mean, if they run like in, let's say, typical German series would be the ADAC GT Masters. They are doing about 6,000 kilometers a year. So at least the engine lasts 3 years. So if they do a lot of endurance racing, I mean, Nürburgring is about 4,200 kilometers. So it's almost 5 times 24-hour Nürburgring. When the car is basically built up like that, we come to a point where the engine would come in.
A 5.2-liter V10 R8 engine, not production-based, it's the production engine. Direct injection, dry sumped, racing catalytic converters, Bosch Motronic engine management. Are these production parts or race parts?
These are production parts in our cars, and they're sometimes a little bit modified. If you see this small cutout, because we have wider rims. But we always try to use the standard parts from the R8 because they're good, they are reliable, and at the end they're also cheap for the customers because it's a mass production part.
Did this start with fluid dynamics on the computer and then to the wind tunnel?
Yes.
Okay. So the front here has always fascinated me because basically you took a production nose, all carbon for lightweight, but the the splitter is pretty big.
Yep.
And then I've seen multiple versions of dive planes.
Yep.
How much downforce does a dive plane generate?
A lot.
A lot. Welcome to racing, a lot, okay. Are you also trying to influence the air around the side of the car?
It's not just that these dive planes making downforce in the front. It's also creating defined airflow around the car, which is even more important than just the downforce in the front.
Coming down the side of the car beyond the wider track, we've got carbon doors. It looks like a bigger inlet on the blade.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
A little bit bigger inlet for, especially for hot countries. We had to extend a little bit the airflow here.
And we've got the side bodywork here. Again, stopping air from sucking under the car.
Yep.
Flowing down the side. Where does the engine get its air to breathe? Is it up here or?
Yes.
Okay. So up here is the snorkel for the
the air intake. Yeah, for the V10.
And again, to repeat, production engine.
Yes.
Production ECU, you said?
Yes. Sir.
So is there still variable to calibrate the engine for a given race or race condition, or?
No.
Okay.
We basically have a different setup of the ECU than for the road car.
Yep.
Because road car is much more inside for emissions and stuff like that. But we cannot change the ECU for every race because it's a standard ECU and it's a standard software inside, so we cannot just change it minute by minute.
So it's different than a racing ECU.
Yes.
It actually restricts some of the flexibility.
Yeah.
May I ask why you did it that way?
Because it's just much cheaper.
Okay. Okay. Back to customer racing.
Yeah, back to customer racing.
Moving to the back of the car, it starts to get really interesting. Explain to us how this is more efficient than mounting here, if you could.
Yeah, of course. It's very simple, and the downforce is not created by the top of the wing.
Okay.
It's created by the lower side of the wing, and that's why we want to have the lower side of the wing as clean as possible, because this creates the downforce. And that's why we mounted it from the top.
So flat bottom isn't even flat bottom in racing. So there's a lot of little details going on here. Please walk us through the aerodynamics.
Actually, what we're doing here with a so-called splitter is recreating downforce. It's nothing more than a front wing at a Formula car. So a certain amount of air coming in here, and then we divide this on this surface, so it's going to spread out. It's going to be accelerated, and accelerated air means downforce. And we're using wood here because it's just it's going to be grinded by the surface of the track, and so you can just remove it, and it's just wood, and it's quite inexpensive. Rather, like these dive plates or these touch plates, it's much cheaper to change the wood plates rather than changing a quite expensive carbon splitter.
Now we start to get into the diffuser area?
Yep.
Okay, so these are Audi Sport racing part?
Yes. Everything you see in carbon is for racing purpose only. And yeah, here we have the air inlets for the rear brakes. Mm-hmm. And here again for the engine or actually the manifolds.
Air jacks?
Air jacks.
One in the front, two back here?
Yes. But for our car, the rear diffuser is much more important because we have a weight distribution quite far to the rear because we have the mid-engine car. And so it's very important because, like I said before, the mechanical balance must really meet the aero balance. And so that's why this is very important for us, because any downforce you create underneath the car creates no drag. Anything you do on top of the car creates drag.
Could you walk us through what we're looking at?
Okay, starting with the most important thing, steering wheel. It has to be disattachable for any for safety reasons when there is a crash and they have to get access to the driver and get him out if he is unconscious, and you can remove the steering wheel.
And there's still a collapsibility built into this column, yes?
Yeah, it's the column. It's from the road car. You can move it in any direction you like, which makes the life of the drivers in endurance racing much easier because they can just adjust it in the pit stop time. Sequential paddle shift here, up and down. So
clutch to, I'm not looking into clutch to launch, but that's it.
Just for launch. The things the drivers changing very often. We have 12 position of traction control here. It's due to track grip, the tires if they are used or new, and rain tires and slicks. And pretty much the same with the ABS system. Here you can toggle through the dash pages. There's this rain light here, the hazard button, and of course the fire extinguisher on the right. And he has a gear shift emergency, so if the semi-automatic system is not working, he can shift really manually with the clutch. There's a reverse gear, the fuel reset, start, ignition, the main switch. And here for endurance racing we have a second fuel pump. We have just a spare switch for whatever, and we have the additional lights for the endurance racing, and for some series and some tracks, special tracks, we can use brake fans.
Yeah, so I also very often spend my weekends at the racetrack, especially also mainly for the important races like the 24-hour races. But also it's always very important to have a close contact to your customers, to feel the needs, what is the problem, what is good, what is not so good, and nobody's perfect, even not us. So still there are a lot of things we can improve, and that's the point why I would like to stay beside and with the customers to learn more about the situation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. A race car is more than a sum of cool parts. A race car build is equally a more complex equation. Audi Sport, the customer racing arm of Quattro GmbH, extends the science of handling, power transfer, design, function, control, balance, lightness, aerodynamics, technology, and efficiency to levels of accomplishment that put smiles on the faces of Audi racers and Hans device-needed head shaking on those that race against them. I truly believe it's one thing to drive a car and form an opinion, but if you really want to know a brand, meet the people that make it happen. And I like what I've learned and really respect Audi.